Picture this. It's a quiet afternoon, thousands of years ago, right in the middle of a dense, ancient forest. A sudden, gentle breeze rustles the branches above you, and a single, unfamiliar green leaf detaches. It floats gracefully through the air, and then it lands softly into a pot of boiling water. It's a completely silent, almost unnoticeable moment. Yet, as that water begins to change color and this mesmerizing aroma fills the air, human history is literally about to be forever altered. I mean, think about it. Every single morning, billions of people around the world start their day with this very brew. Next to water, it is the most consumed beverage on the entire planet. But how exactly did this simple, accidental event reshape global empires, spark actual revolutions, and weave itself into the daily lives of billions? Well, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a 10-minute, documentary-style journey through the epic 5,000-year history of the golden leaf. We're going to explore its mythic origins, its spread through Eastern cultures, Europe's maritime discovery, the British Empire's plantations, and ultimately, its massive global legacy. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the mythic origins of tea. So to really understand the origins of our favorite beverage, we've got to travel way back, over 5 millennia to ancient China. At this point in history, human civilization is really just beginning to blossom, and survival relies entirely on a deep, everyday connection to the natural world. The dense forests and sprawling jungles out there, they aren't just scenery. They are the sole source of food, medicine, and drink. Now, while the exact origins are definitely a subject of historical debate, the archaeological and historical clues we have tell us that humans in China first identified the tea plant roughly 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. By the time we reach 2737 BC, the story of tea gets entirely entwined with myth, and later on, by the 9th century, it blossoms into this incredible golden age of culture. But let's actually look a bit closer at that date in 2737 BC, because that is where the absolute most famous legend of tea begins. According to Chinese folklore, in 2737 BC, the legendary Emperor Shennong, a guy often called the father of agriculture, was resting beneath a tree. Shennong was this pioneering researcher of herbal medicine. He famously risked his own life testing roots and leaves just to figure out what was food, what was poison, and what could actually cure illness. So during a long journey, his companions were boiling water to make it safe to drink. And yep, that fateful breeze dropped a tea leaf right into his pot. Intrigued by the smell, he took a sip. And the legend says that instantly his fatigue just vanished, completely replaced by a surge of fresh energy. Whether this is pure fact or just great folklore, this story has survived for thousands of years as the true spiritual birthplace of tea. But here's a wild twist. The reality of how tea was first consumed might actually surprise you. 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, tea wasn't that refined, steeped beverage we all know today. Nope, people actually cooked it. They ate it like a leafy green vegetable, or they boiled it down into this super potent medicinal soup. It was only over centuries of trial and error that humanity finally discovered the magic of drying the leaves and steeping them in hot water. And that evolution is what brought out its slightly bitter but incredibly refreshing taste, essentially turning a simple medicinal plant into a daily tool for sharpening focus and erasing fatigue. Moving right along to Section 2, spreading through Eastern cultures. As we move into the 5th and 6th centuries, tea usage just absolutely explodes across China. It transitions from a simple remedy into a fundamental cornerstone of Eastern culture. And this sets the perfect stage for the Tang Dynasty, where tea genuinely becomes a symbol of poetry, philosophy, and daily life. The crucial takeaway here is that tea wasn't just about physical energy anymore. It became deeply spiritual. During this era, tea became exceptionally popular among Buddhist monks. I mean, imagine sitting in silent meditation for hours on end. Staying awake and alert is a massive challenge, right? Well, the monks discovered that the subtle caffeine hit in tea was the perfect anchor for their spiritual practice. It helped them maintain their discipline, deepen their meditation, and find inner peace. And, a cultural phenomenon like this doesn't just stay put. It soon crossed the sea over to Japan. Historical records tell us that a visiting Japanese Buddhist monk, upon realizing the profound value of tea over in China, actually took tea seeds and brewing techniques back home with him. This quiet, simple exchange of knowledge sparked something incredibly beautiful. Over the following centuries, Japan developed the Zen tea ceremony. And guys, this isn't just about drinking a beverage. It's a full-on art form. Every single movement, every cup, every silent moment is a living philosophy, a deeply meditative practice that honors the ancient roots of that very first leaf. Which brings us to Section 3, Europe discovers the golden leaf. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is looking at what was happening halfway across the world. A new era was dawning, the age of maritime exploration. European navigators were setting sail, mapping new routes and encountering all the wonders of the East. We're talking spices, silk, porcelain, and eventually the golden leaf itself. Their discovery of this beverage was actually surprisingly piecemeal. First, in the late 16th century, Portuguese missionaries and merchants started sending back reports of this fascinating exotic drink. Then, in the early 17th century, Dutch merchants began bringing it back commercially on their big cargo ships. But the real turning point? That happened in 1662. A Portuguese princess named Catherine of Braganza married King Charles II of England. When she arrived at the royal palace, she brought her daily habit of drinking tea right along with her. Almost overnight, the English aristocracy adopted the practice, and tea became the absolute center of elite afternoon social life in London. But get this, before it was a staple of afternoon social hour, it was a wildly misunderstood luxury. Because it was so rare and so incredibly expensive, European doctors actually began attributing almost magical properties to it. They genuinely believed tea could cure headache right on the spot, magically fix digestion, and even guarantee a longer life. It's kind of funny to think about now, but these perceived miraculous health benefits are exactly what drove its status as a beverage reserved strictly for extreme wealth and the royal elite. Things take a much more serious turn here in Section 4, British Empire and Indian tea. As demand skyrocketed, a massive economic tension literally began to brew. The British had a very serious problem on their hands, a total monopoly. By the late 17th century, the British were importing thousands of pounds of tea daily, but China controlled absolutely everything. They set the price, they controlled the supply. Essentially, the destiny of Europe's favorite and most lucrative drink was entirely in the hands of a single foreign nation. For the British Empire, this was a severe economic vulnerability. They desperately needed to find a territory they controlled where they could grow the tea themselves. And that desperate search finally ended in the year 1823. A Scottish explorer named Robert Bruce was navigating the dense jungles of Assam in India when he made a groundbreaking discovery. With the help of the local Singpho tribe, he found wild tea plants growing perfectly naturally. This single year marked a monumental shift in global trade, because the British quickly realized this region was absolutely perfect for commercial cultivation. By the 1830s, vast plantations began sprouting up all across Assam, Darjeeling, and Nilgiri. Tea quickly became a massive pillar of the British economy. However, it is absolutely crucial to understand the immense human cost behind this booming industry. The reality of these plantations was incredibly harsh. It involved the forced relocation of workers from distant regions, grueling work hours under the hot sun, extremely low wages, and intensely difficult living conditions. The millions of pounds of tea flowing into Europe were intrinsically tied to the sweat, sacrifice, and exploitation of these plantation workers. It's a stark, complex chapter in the legacy of colonialism that forever changed the demographics and the physical landscape of India. All right. Shifting gears to our final chapter, Section 5, Revolution and Global Legacy. So while the British were reshaping the landscape of India to quench their thirst for tea, the financial weight of this global trade was sparking a very different kind of fire across the Atlantic. In the British colonies of North America, high taxes levied on tea ignited massive public outrage. On a freezing winter night in 1773, colonists disguised as Native Americans boarded ships in Boston Harbor and hurled hundreds of crates of tea right into the ocean. You know it as the Boston Tea Party. But here's the so what of it all. This wasn't just a protest over a beverage. It became a primary catalyst for the American movement for independence. It's truly incredible to think that disputes over the taxation of a simple leaf helped set the wheels in motion for the birth of a brand new nation. From those revolutionary fires, tea just kept marching across the globe. By the late 19th century, it was quite literally everywhere, adapting into an incredible diversity of traditions. We're talking about the communal Russian samovar, the super refreshing mint tea of the Middle East, the spicy and warming masala chai in India, the refined British afternoon tea, and of course the meditative Japanese tea ceremony. Even today, countries like Bangladesh boast these sprawling, beautiful tea gardens in Sylhet and Sri Bengal that not only drive the economy but form a core part of their cultural identity. Today, tea is grown in over 100 countries, sustaining the livelihoods of millions of people. So, we've traveled from a quiet, ancient Chinese forest to the bustling royal courts of Europe, through the harsh realities of colonial plantations, and right into the fires of the American Revolution. All of this history, this politics, and this rich culture stems from one simple, accidental discovery thousands of years ago. So the next time you hold a warm, steaming cup of tea in your hands, take a second. Look past the water and the leaves. Will you taste the thousands of years of myth, empire, sacrifice, and revolution swirling right there inside your cup? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring the incredible histories hidden in our everyday lives.